What up? What up? What up, YouTube? Your boy Mustard back. Your boy Omo back. And, I told y'all on these streams, these are going to be, not just basketball we talk about, but today it's going to be strictly basketball for the most part. I'm not going to spend too much time. It's a Sunday. I know a lot of you guys probably went to church today or went to whatever family gatherings, end of the weekend, trying to get shit done. So I won't take up too much of y'all's time. But today we got a couple things I want to talk about, mainly the Nuggets, and also because I know I kind of fucked up a little bit last time when I was doing it. I was ranking, I think, my top 10 point guards or top point guards in the league. I was ranking all of them. But today, actually, instead of doing that tier shit where I could give cop-out answers and all of that, we're going to do the top 10 point guards in the league, period. That's what we're going to do. Probably get a clip out of it or whatever. Upload it. Do the whole shebang. Y'all already know the deal. But let's get started, right? Let's talk about some things happening in these streets. And let's get to it. Give me a second. Let me pull things up. Let's start off with this. So, breaking news. Cleveland, Denver, and the Clippers have agreed on a trade sending Peyton Watson to the Cavs, Max Strus to LA, and an unprotected 2031 Cavs first round pick and a 2032 Kings second rounder to the Nuggets. Watson will sign a 4-year, $88 million deal to join the Cavaliers, plus a player option and a trade kicker. Now, I'm going to be honest. I do think it is kind of wild that this was such a big story. Don't get me wrong. I think Peyton Watson is a solid player. I don't think he's trash. I don't think he's ass or anything like that. But it is kind of crazy that this created all the discourse that led into people saying and now speculating that Jokic could leave the Nuggets. When even if they signed Peyton Watson and brought him back somehow, I still think all of those things would have been valid. I think it all would have been a valid conversation to have about Nikola Jokic staying with the Nuggets long term, whether they kept Peyton or not. Now, like I said, I'm not saying that to diminish Peyton Watson's value, because Peyton Watson this season had a career year. He put up a lot of big numbers, especially when Jokic was out in January. We could pull it up right now. shit. Here are his overall season numbers, and in comparison to last year, obviously a jump everywhere. Went from 8 points to 15 points per game, 3 rebounds to nearly 5, 1.5 assists to over 2 assists, averaged over a block a game. Shout out to him. Shot 73% from the free throw line as compared to 69% on more attempts. 49% from the field, 41% from three on a little less than 4 3-pointers attempted a game. But the real stretch that I think a lot of people hang on to with Peyton Watson and why I think this was a big conversation is the stretch that he had in January when Jokic wasn't even there. So from the beginning of January, actually, let's do, yeah, January. In January, because I think Jokic came back for that OKC game. But in January, without Nikola Jokic, pretty much, Peyton Watson averaged 22 points a game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, almost 2 blocks and a steal, 49% from the field, 46% from three, 71% at the free throw line. And there was this montage that went around about Peyton Watson and like showed some of the creation leap that he took. I seen it just a little while ago. Here it is right here. That's why a lot of people really harped on him as a player, because it wasn't just that he was putting up numbers. He was getting like some self-creation ability growing in his game. Right? Nice little move at the rim. Little pull up. Now, I will admit, in a lot of these games, he's cooking bad teams. I mean, we saw the Bucks just now, and now you're seeing the Washington Wizards and then the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, he's cooking PJ in isolation here. Dwight Powell in isolation here. I mean, but these are good moves. Like, these are nice moves, and the man was putting up numbers. Got the Hawks. I mean, Onyeka's not a terrible switch defender. I'll say that. Peyton again putting in the moves. You know, like he showed some real valid self-creation ability in that time span. And not only that, the shot blocking, I think, was really good. And I think that's the thing about Peyton. I think Peyton has this real heightened, like, he kind of like exemplifies the modern day basketball fan and what they find valuable, because it is kind of like a highlight reel thing with him, right? Like even this montage I'm gonna show y'all with like the blocks, right? Nice help defense, rotation slide over, gets the block, leads to a transition bucket for MPJ, right? Rotates over, great play, hustle, but a lot of real highlight plays with Peyton Watson. Another block off the fast break. Rotates over, gets a nice hustle play on Jabari. Some of this is from last season too. Not this past year, but the year before. You see Russ on the team, right? Amon in transition, and he gets a block on Amon. That's impressive, right? He shows a lot of hustle and a lot of drive, but I'm just going to be honest with you. $88 million for this is kind of crazy. $88 million for, we're really talking about a stretch of game, 15 straight games. I mean, it's a great stretch, don't get me wrong, but look at some of these teams, right? Brooklyn, he dropped 23, efficient 23. I'll give him that. Philly, that's a great game against a really good Philly team, but you know, Philly was not a great defense. Embiid's not the rim protector he used to be. They were bottom half. They were 16th in defensive rating, 19th in opponents' points per game. Then on top of that, Boston, he did play well against Boston, and Boston was a top 5 defense in the NBA. So I'll give him that. That's a good game against Boston. 30 piece, solid, but 5 fouls. 4 turnovers to his 2 assists. That's another thing. He's not really giving you that much playmaking value. But to be fair, on a team like Denver, you don't need too much playmaking value around Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, especially Nikola Jokic, who's a walking top 10 offense damn near by himself. So I'll give him that. But I mean, you look at the rest of these performances. We're talking about Milwaukee. Didn't even play well in that game, but Milwaukee, New Orleans, Dallas, Washington, Charlotte. And Charlotte, to be fair, did have a good stretch on both sides of the ball. But even then, they lost that game. He didn't play well. 11 points on 12 shots. LA, not a great defensive unit as is. Detroit's a great defensive team, and look at how bad he struggled against them. Multiple times even. But to put a bow on all this shit, my point is, I just don't think that the Peyton Watson signing should be what makes people think Jokic is going to leave the Denver Nuggets. Because Peyton Watson, you're overrating how good Peyton Watson is, because he's not a needle mover in that conversation. Peyton Watson is not the difference between being able to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves or the San Antonio Spurs or the Oklahoma City Thunder. He ain't that kind of needle mover. If Peyton Watson was that good, I promise you the Nuggets would have re-signed him. They would have re-signed him. That shot creation leap on bad teams for 15 games, that ain't enough for people to start signing someone to an $88 million contract when you got Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, and Aaron Gordon on big deals. And Christian Braun is eating a good chunk of that cap too. Another thing about the Nuggets that people are forgetting is that Cam Johnson does have an expiring contract. Let's go to the Nuggets contract situation, actually. Right? Speaking of Denver, let's go there. Here's the Nuggets payroll. And I mean, I'll be honest, it don't look great. Right? This year, Jamal Murray making $50 million. Aaron Gordon making $33 million. Cam Johnson on an expiring $23 million deal. Christian Braun, I ain't gonna lie, the Christian Braun contract is the one that I'm just like, Jesus Christ. This nigga is owed $21 million next season, bruh. This nigga Christian Braun is owed $21 million next year. Then in 2029, $25 million flat. Then in 2030, $26.7 million. And that ain't even the worst of it, because he got another year after that in 2031 for $28.4 million. This nigga has $125 million guaranteed left on his contract before next season. Jesus Christ. That shit is nasty. That's the real contract that fucked them up right there. And I think they just didn't want to get caught up in 15 games of what Peyton Watson was doing against bad teams, granted without Nikola Jokic, but Jamal Murray did play a lot of those games now. He wasn't the number one option. Jamal Murray was there. But if we really want to keep it a buck about the Nikola Jokic situation in Denver, let me tell it to you like this. Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets, I think their situation is just based on how Nikola Jokic, how much he cares about winning. Because I'll be honest, and I don't really like to go here when it comes to NBA players, because we don't know their psyche. We don't know what they value. We don't know these niggas, period, point blank. But Nikola Jokic just doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that cares too much about basketball. I think that's fair to say, right? The guy loves his horses more than he does winning a championship, and that's okay. I've always said that this shit is a fucking job at the end of the day. They here to make money. I'd rather make hundreds of millions of dollars in the NBA than make $10 winning 10 championships. I'll be honest with you. I could care less about titles if I ain't making money. So I understand that perspective. Jokic is happy doing his horses shit over there in Serbia, and all credit, all power to that man. But with that being said, does Jokic care that much about winning a championship, or another championship, I should say? Because that also got to factor in. He's already won. It's not like this man has never won a championship. He's already won a title. And say what you want about Denver and their front office and certain decisions that they've made, but it's not like they haven't tried. They brought back those guys for the championship. They still got, or they had MPJ who contributed to the championship. They had Aaron Gordon who has a big ass deal of his own. Jamal Murray, they signed him to a max. They believed in Jamal Murray before he ever even won a championship. That's another thing. Before he ever even had that 2023 playoff run, that was a historic playoff run. I'll give him props and credit where it's due. But they believed in him enough before then that they gave him that deal. And a lot of people critiqued that signing, but it worked out because they won a title. And he had one of the greatest second option performances in NBA history throughout that entire playoff run, beginning till end. So you could critique the Nuggets and say long term they didn't think about the effects of some of these deals. But even Christian Braun's contract, look, that contract is inexcusable. I'm just going to be honest with you. But Christian Braun did contribute to them winning a championship, however minuscule it was. I remember the defense that he played on Kevin Durant in the second round of the Western Conference Finals. Not finals, but the Western Conference semifinals. I remember that. So it's not like the Nuggets didn't have reason to bring back certain players and pay them what they paid them. He asked me, I see Alampo asked me, did I watch the matches between Serbia and French? I didn't watch the matches, but I did see some of those clips, and we can go over some of those because Wemby, Lord Jesus, the clutch still ain't looking too hot for a brother. But I'm just going to be honest. Like I said, getting back to this Jokic thing, I just think that it all just depends on what Jokic wants. And I know that's a very simplistic answer. It may not be the answer that a lot of people want to hear, but it's just that simple with Jokic. But if I was Nikola Jokic, right, and I know I'm going to get paid regardless, which he is, he's going to get paid regardless where he goes or what he does, then I would definitely strongly consider leaving Denver because people forget he did not sign that extension. So next season, even though he's on the books for next season, it's a player option for $62.8 million. And I know that not signing the contract extension doesn't mean you're just going to leave the team. A lot of that is to really assess your options. And if he opts out, he'll get more money, right? New year, more money, cap goes up, all of those things. So I understand that. But at the end of the day, you know, if Jokic was really this hella committed guy to the Denver Nuggets organization and franchise, he probably would have done it. He probably would have done it. So there might be some reservations on Jokic end. And if I'm Jokic, I'm definitely thinking about calling Luka after this year, after next year when they lose in the first or second round. And God forbid they lose in the first round. He's out of there if that happens again. Especially in the fashion, considering the fashion they lost last year. That'd be rough. But if I'm him and I lose again in the playoffs in a disappointing fashion, I'm picking up my phone, I'm calling Luka, and I'm saying make some space for me in LA. We're going to team up and run this shit. Because I'm going to be real with y'all, man. Like, I don't really see how the Nuggets keep Jokic if Jokic really just wants to win championships. But Jokic don't strike me as the kind of guy to really make a fuss about shit. Because he don't really seem like the kind of guy to give a fuck about anything other than his horses and shit back home. But like I said, it's really all dependent on what Jokic wants to do. And to everybody out there acting like the Nuggets, you know, made this generational fumble, think about it like this, y'all. Think about it like this. Let's go back to the trade. To everyone who thinks that the Nuggets sold and had a fumble by losing Peyton Watson, think about it like this. They got a first and second round pick out of a player that last season was a 15 point per game scorer for them. And in the playoffs, didn't even play that much because he was hurt. He didn't get that many minutes. Actually, I'm sorry. He didn't even play at all. I'm tripping. He missed the whole the rest of the year. That's another thing. He missed it. So to all those people out here complaining, I don't really understand. The Nuggets didn't need to do anything for him. I really don't get it. I think a lot of people are I think a lot of people just think Peyton Watson is just this demonic defensive player when no. But the thing with the Nuggets is that shit didn't stop there, because the Nuggets then decided, hey, we'll lose a somewhat defensive oriented wing, athletic guy who showed some promise offensively, but fuck it, we got another plan. We got a plan B. Let me show y'all who the plan B for the Denver Nuggets are. The Nuggets said that their plan B, instead of bringing back Peyton Watson, was to go and get DeMar DeRozan. Nigga, I saw that notification and started laughing my ass off, man. Nigga, DeMar DeRozan to the Nuggets? Like, imagine, right? Imagine you on the other team. Like, you're Anthony Edwards. You saucing up Jamal Murray. You get past his lame ass. DeMar DeRozan rotates. It's like, nigga, goodbye. Blow by off that nigga. And maybe Jokic is at the rim to help, because, you know, it's like 50-50 with that nigga and his defensive effort these days. Oh, God. I'm going to be honest with you. This was one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen. This is one of the most hilarious pickups, y'all. And this is why I think a lot of people think that Jokic is going to leave. I remember, what's it called? I posted this video. Shout out to my boy Swiper, man. Shout out to my boy Swiper. Here you go right here, man. We're going to hear what Swiper, the Denver Nuggets captain, got to say. The Nuggets Twitter captain got to say.
So it's official. DeMar DeRozan is signing with the Denver Nuggets. DeMar DeRozan this past season averaged 18 points a game, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists, and shot 53% from 2 and 32% from the free throw line and 87% from the free throw line.
That nigga, he tried to gas it up, y'all. He tried to gas it up.
Now, here's the thing. DeMar DeRozan is not a modern player in traditional sense. He doesn't shoot a lot of. So it's official. DeMar DeRozan is not a modern player in traditional sense. He doesn't shoot a lot of threes, but he is still one of the best isolation scorers, one of the best mid-range scorers, and best post scorers among wings in the NBA as well.
Look at him. He's trying to save face so bad, bro. I can see the pain through this nigga glasses. I can see it. This nigga is finna cry. Swiping my dog, but nigga, you don't gotta gas up DeMar.
Well, the Nuggets have struggled at times to find isolated scoring outside of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray consistently. And one thing they definitely need is a player who can play 80 to 82 games a year. And DeMar DeRozan can do that. The Nuggets still.
That nigga said, hey, look, fuck all the other shit. The nigga can play games. The nigga can play 80 games, y'all. That's a plus. That's a plus, bro. He's an ISO scorer. Yeah, go ahead and use that shit. Go ahead and use it, Swiper.
We'll have some more questions they have to answer about their roster, namely the backup point guard position. But DeMar DeRozan fits what Denver needs and will help them in this upcoming regular season.
Nigga, he does not fit what Denver needs. He does not fit that. You got mid-range shooting with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Y'all don't need no ISO scoring, nigga. DeMar is one of the worst fits that they could have on this team. I even put the comments. I was like, nigga, he trying to gas that shit up. He trying to gas it up, y'all. I even quote, like I said, I can see the pain through your glasses, Swiper. And it's crazy because you see an old tweet of Swiper right here. This is in 2024 when there was a report DeMar might sign a 1-year deal with the team in order to enter free agency in 2025 when teams have more cap space. This nigga quoted it and said, DeMar DeRozan to Denver as a 6th man for 1 year. Nigga, you got your wish. You got your wish. Look, DeMar DeRozan is not a trash player, okay? I know I make fun of him a lot. Even at the end of his Bulls tenure, I was like, bro, we got to get this nigga out of here. I get that. But the thing with DeMar on the Denver Nuggets is that DeMar doesn't fix what they need. Defensively right now, they have a need, especially on that wing, because Aaron Gordon is nowhere near the player that he used to be. Nowhere near. Defensively, he's not that guy anymore. And he's constantly hurt. He's constantly battling injuries. You add on top of that I don't know if DeMar's coming off the bench or not, but we're going to have a lineup there with the Nuggets. They are going to have a lineup. Not we. I'm not a Nuggets fan. I almost thought I was swiping for a second. You got Jamal Murray, Christian Braun, DeMar DeRozan, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. That's the lineup we're going with? You talk about spacing issues. Christian Braun is floor spacer? No. DeMar DeRozan, floor spacer? Nigga, he's an anti-floor spacer. He shrinks that shit. Aaron Gordon, floor spacer? Yikes. So you got teams that are going to be holding hands together in the paint because they ain't even going to care about defending some of these other niggas. And then you talk about injuries. Jamal Murray goes down. I guess we're relying on that Nikola Jokic and DeMar DeRozan pick and roll, y'all. That's what we're relying on. We're going to mid-range post-fade these motherfuckers to death. Oh, Lord Jesus. And defensively, holy shit. DeMar DeRozan on the court with Nikola Jokic sounds like a nightmare defensively. Murray, DeMar, and Jokic. And you're asking Aaron Gordon to do a lot for a player that's constantly hurt and not the defender that he was a couple of years ago, especially when y'all won the championship. And this is supposed to be the last year of Nikola Jokic's contract, y'all. Like I said, either Jokic must just love being in Denver and some comfortability if he stays. But if any other top guy with a brain is in this situation that don't give a fuck about any of that shit, then they're out of here. I don't see how they're going to do much of anything next season. I mean, Cam Johnson, I guess Cam Johnson could start. My bad. Cam Johnson could start and DeMar come off the bench, right? Because DeMar can't start. And mind you, if DeMar's coming off the bench, how are you going to allocate some of those minutes when you stagger certain lineups? Like, is DeMar going to ever play minutes with Jokic? If so, how many? And in the playoffs, when his value drops, because he's a consistent playoff dropper, because the spacing, the defense, the decision-making, all of that takes a big hit with shortened lineups, is DeMar going to be the first one off the bench? What you going to do with that? Or, my bad, Marvin Bagley. Maybe he's going to be the answer, y'all, because they picked him up too. Nigga, get the fuck out of here. I don't know what that signing's supposed to be. That is a bad decision for the Nuggets. Because to do something like that, to make a move like that, when this is potentially Jokic's last year in Denver, them niggas just throwing shit at the wall. They just throwing shit at the wall. And it could come back to bite their ass. They better hope that Jokic just must love it out there in Denver and don't give a fuck about trying to win championships. And I'm not saying that's not a possibility, but nigga, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here with that. So, let's move on. So, next we have on the agenda, or actually, my bad, before I get to the top 10 point guards, because for those who don't know, we are going to be ranking the top 10 point guards in the league in this video at the end of this stream. That's going to be the last thing that we touch upon here. Let's talk about the Wemby versus Jokic French game. I did see some people posting about that, talking about it. Got a comment about it. And Wemby, man, this nigga, I don't know what's going on with this nigga in the clutch, but he just out here selling like crazy. Here it is right here, y'all. Wemby in the clutch still ain't figuring this shit out. So he gets the ball in the post. Actually, no, he's not. Looks like he's about to face up. Turn around, backing him down. Man, you got two dudes on him right here. You could have swung that shit back out. I mean, the moment you start sensing, okay, well, I guess he's got his back turned, so that's why he doesn't see number 13 coming at him. But, man, what is he doing?
Wemby puts it up.
Oh, Lord Jesus, Wemby. What the fuck is this nigga doing?
Jokic with French
oh, there's more? Oh, Lord Jesus.
Waving.
Oh, my God, Wemby. What kind of screen is that? Nigga, please don't tell me there's more. Please don't tell me there's more, bro.
Here he goes. So Francisco guarded by Dobric.
So here's the replay. Oh, Jesus, Wemby. Oh, that's a clear moving screen,
like he
man.
might have got him with the right elbow.
Wemby, what the fuck? And that's not the only clip I seen, man. He was bad that whole game. Lord Jesus. I don't know if they had like 2 games, but this is a different game that they played. This has friendly game. Nigga. I don't understand. Why are they giving this nigga? And to be fair, this is EuroLeague, different rules. I understand that. And Gobert's on the team. That's another thing, right? Probably Gobert clogging up the paint. You want to be out there. But getting him the ball right here, like they gave him the ball at the top of the key, like this nigga was gonna go out there and do some KD shit. Like we didn't just watch the NBA finals. And these aren't even NBA niggas. Nigga out here getting cooked by the Serbians. Oh God. Wemby, bro. Look at Gobert in the paint calling for the ball. Nigga, you not getting that shit from him. He gonna shoot that motherfucker. I guess not. Nice. I guess he did.
Move Wemby.
Oh my God, Wemby. What? Nigga. What? I mean, you be all up on this jumper shit. You should have just shot it at that point. And if you go make a pass, look at this nigga. I don't know if there's Evan Fournier, because I know he was on the French team, but nigga is wide open on the wing.
Nice move, Wemby.
The vision ain't there like that yet. And he gonna pull that shit, fading away on the
Wemby
in the corner. He gets the ball back. Okay.
Gets the ball.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Nigga out here making playoff Russ turnovers.
Gets the ball. And
oh Jesus.
Wemby,
Brick. I already know.
Goes back to Noah.
I mean, I know this is a low light reel, but shit.
Here's Wemby, a long 3. Wemby.
Oh, so it's fourth quarter. So this is the shot. This is the one I seen where there was like he still ain't clutch. So you pump fake, you get him a little off balance,
Wemby.
And then you sidestep this motherfucker. Nigga.
Gonna take a 3.
No way. Of course you airballed, nigga. Lord Jesus, Wemby. He still ain't learned, bruh. He still ain't learned. Yeah, y'all right. He picking up where he left off in the fucking finals. They said I have to watch the whole game to see Wemby. Maybe he played better throughout the course of the game, but Wemby, dog. The fuck is we doing here? What the fuck is we doing here, man? I don't know what we doing here, Wemby. I don't know what we doing here. But let's get started with my top 10 point guards in the NBA. How should I do it? Should I just say the top 10 niggas and explain? Or let's see. Maybe I could get something to write them down. Or I could just put some text on the screen. Actually, fuck that. Let's get some text on the screen. The fuck? Where is it? I'm trying to get this text to pop up. Give me a second, y'all. Okay, I see now. All right, fucking up the count. There we go. There we go. All right, so we are going to rank the top 10 point guards in the NBA. And to give y'all a little bit more background on the criteria, I will not be including point guards that are shit. Kelsey coming through the door. What up? Okay, whatever. But what up? No, Kevin Garnett's not in the top 10 kills. Close the door. All right, she a KG fan. She always on some shit, y'all. She think I'm just gonna put KG in any video. That's what she think. But let's get started though. So before I start, I want to give some criteria on who qualifies and who doesn't qualify for the top 10. Basically, if you're a point guard that's coming off of a major injury, you're not being rated on the list. I got to see you play before I rank you. Also, rookies not on the list, so no Darren Peterson, he will not be here. No, none of them niggas off the draft. And I think that's pretty much covers it. And I guess this is kind of a projections list, but obviously, it's kind of a rich tapestry kind of thing where I'm still going to include what you did last year, project what you are now, what you're going to be going forward, and that'll dictate the list. And health is included. So that, like, your amount of durability for guys like Steph Curry, that's going to be taken into account. And it could affect your ranking. It could make you be lower compared to certain players. So let's get started, shall we? Let me pull up my list here. I got it on my phone. Wrote this shit down in the notes. So, the top 10 point guards in the NBA. Let's get started. Coming in at number 10, we have LaMelo Ball. I believe LaMelo Ball is the 10th best point guard in the NBA. I think LaMelo last season, though it was somewhat of an anomaly for his health, I think he showed that he's still a very productive player, and I still maintain that if I was the Charlotte Hornets, I would have kept LaMelo. What he was doing with that Charlotte Hornets team when he was on the court, he had them operating at elite levels offensively. He's still one of the best passers in the league, one of the most skilled passers in the NBA, can run the break as good as anybody in the NBA, has a solid handle that can be loose at times and a little bit erratic, don't get me wrong. And there are some negatives with his game that I'll get to. But as far as the positives, when you pair his passing with his shooting, being one of the best shooters in the league, yes, there's some bad shots that come with that, and we'll get to some of those negatives. But at the end of the day, the positives is the fact that when you pair the high volume shooting with the ball handling at that size and the transition ability, the passing, you have one of the best point guards in the NBA. And it's not without flaws. But before we even get to those flaws, let's even look at some of these numbers that LaMelo put up this past year, because I really feel like a lot of people don't understand how good he was. Let's pull up some of these numbers. So these were his overall season numbers. LaMelo averaged 20 points per game, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, a steal and a half, 41% from the field, 37% from three on over 10 attempts a game, and 89% at the free throw line. Pretty much 90% at the free throw line. So we're talking about true shooting percentage, that's around 55%. Not the best. That's still a little bit below average, but not something that you can't win games with, because we saw the Charlotte Hornets last year finish above 500, ninth in the East, 44 wins, top 5 offense in the NBA. And you can't say he just drags down a defense to bad levels, because he's not a great defender, but they were still one of the better defensive teams in the league. And in the second half of the season, they were a top 10 defense in the NBA as they started off slow, finished off strong, and that led to them being 7th in opponents' points per game and 12th in defensive rating. And that's another thing even about LaMelo. Though on the ball, he's a little bit, actually not even a little bit, he's not a great defender on the ball. He's not really great at all. But he can get in some passing lanes and rotations and things of that nature and have some kind of value. But that does lead into the negatives and why I can't put LaMelo higher on the list. Because let's be real here. LaMelo defensively, like I said, there are some drawbacks. The shot selection can be very bad at times. We saw in that playing game against the Miami Heat, it was really bad at times. Even though they won that game, some of the shots he took, the finishes he took, the like layups, just really bad. And even some of the turnovers, he can get turnover prone at times. And also, he doesn't have a mid-range game, really. The lack of a mid-range pull-up can be an issue. He does become a little bit predictable with his offensive game. And, health. Look, LaMelo was healthy last year. As you guys can see, he played 72 games. But look at the last 3 years before then. We're talking about struggling to play over 45 games. Hell, if you just look at his whole career, right? Out of his whole career, he's only played over 70 games twice. And he got hurt in his rookie year, and that was a shortened season. People forget that. That was the year with limited fans. It was coming off of COVID. That was a shortened year, and he still got hurt. And he wasn't even starting. That was the least amount of minutes that he's played up until last season. So last season, where they benched him for a couple of games, they shortened his minutes. He had a productive year. But is that the method of what you got to do with LaMelo going forward? You know? But regardless, my point still stands that he's struggling to really play games. 47 games, 22 games, 36 games. I got to take that into account if we're doing like projections or just, based off of last season combined with what you've shown throughout your whole career as well. So I do got to take in health into account, which is why I think those negatives keep me from putting him higher. But I would say his range is around 8 to 10. Like I could see the players that I'm going to mention at 8 and 9 being in the convo with him and not being, if you think that he's better than those guys, I can understand that argument because I do think they're around the same tier. But let's move on to the next player that we have at number 9. Coming in at number 9, I have Darius Garland. Now, I know a lot of people are not as high on Darius Garland as I am, but I still think Darius Garland has proven over and over that he is one of the best point guards in the league and just gives you consistent production. And look, there are flaws and drawbacks that, like LaMelo, we'll get to after I talk about these positives. But what he does really well is he's going to be one of the best passers in the NBA in the half court transition. He can find guys off of missed rotations, find guys like the open shooter in the pocket off of a pick and roll, good pick and roll ball handler, an elite pick and roll ball handler. People just underrate what he was doing for Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. I understand James Harden's doing what he's doing, and we'll get to Harden later on in the list because he is on the list. Sorry to all the Harden fans. But Darius Garland, I got to say, when you combine that passing and vision and how he can utilize all the teammates, especially his big in the pick and roll game with his shooting ability, I got to say, I don't see why he's not in these conversations a lot more. And he puts up numbers. The guy's a consistent 20-point per game scorer that can give you on any night 8 to 10 assists. Let's pull up the numbers for Darius Garland, just like we did for LaMelo. I mean, it's self-explanatory for those who watch, but sometimes you got to see it to believe it. The numbers don't lie in this case when it comes to DG. Because after being traded from the Cleveland Cavaliers, His numbers obviously up with more opportunities, more shots. Went from 18 to 20 points per game, 6 assists, about a steal, 47% from the field, 44% from three on nearly 8 attempts, and 86% at the free throw line. But as a whole for the season, it was still roughly around the same 19 and 7, 46, 40, and 86 shooting splits. Now, DG is not perfect. You know, defensively, he can be exploited because of his size. Effort is inconsistent as well at times. And on top of that, his health. Similar to LaMelo, he gets hurt at the worst possible times. And, you know, his rim pressure isn't very much so there. In the playoffs, it is a big drawback for him. It's a big reason why he is a dropper. And yeah, that pretty much is the reason why I can't put him any higher on this list. You could argue he's in the same range as far as 8 to 10, but I actually feel like if LaMelo was healthy, like actually able to play consistent enough games, I'd probably be more inclined to put LaMelo over Darius Garland because I don't think I don't think Darius Garland can really carry an offense the way LaMelo did for the Charlotte Hornets, because those on-off numbers when LaMelo was off the court, man, Brandon Miller was struggling heavy. And I don't think that Darius Garland can really carry an offense the way that LaMelo did for the Charlotte Hornets last year. So I think if LaMelo it has a healthy, productive season and shows that he can stay healthy consistently, I would definitely put him over Darius Garland. But, you know, we're talking about two injury-prone niggas, but LaMelo, it's just a different breed with that nigga. I mean, the guy, other than this past season, he ain't ever played 50 games since his second year. Like, come on now. Like, you can't tell me that shit doesn't scream anomaly. I'm just saying. But for now, 9 and 10 for Darius Garland and LaMelo. I think those are fair spots. But let's move on to number 8 on the list. Because coming in at number 8, I have Jamal Murray. We spent some time talking about Jamal a little bit earlier in the video, in this stream, where we talked about, you know, the Denver Nuggets. But let's talk about, hold on, I'm trying to, maybe I could do that. Nah, I don't gotta do all that. Shit. Give me a second, yo. Trying to get this situated. Give me a second. There we go. Okay. But yeah, Jamal Murray at number 8, I think is a fair spot for him. I really can't put him any higher when you have the other names that I'm going to get to on this list. But Jamal Murray has shown, despite the fact that, yes, he does play with Nikola Jokic, he can go out there and put up numbers with or without Jokic. Maybe not at the same high enough level compared to some other guys, but there's a reason he's 8 on the list and not, 3, 4, 5 or whatever like that. He's not in that tier, but he is a legitimate, and obviously this past season, a solidified all-star caliber player who's got multiple playoff runs playing at a high level. Obviously the 2023 year where they won the championship, one of the best Robin seasons and playoff performances that we've ever seen. He's a really good shooter, nice mid-range scorer as well. Got some decent footwork in the post and has really grown as a shot creator. As let's pull up the numbers when he was without Nikola Jokic, because I really feel like a lot of people forget how good he was in those games. Wasn't too many, but here it is right here. In the games without Nikola Jokic this past year, he averaged 28 points per game, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, and he did that on fairly decent shooting splits. Let's pull it up. It's right here. Shot 50% from the field, 41% from three, 87% at the free throw line. True shooting percentage is 61%. That's just flat out great, to be honest. And then you look at the overall season stats for Jamal Murray. Career season and career highs all across the board. Career high in points per game with 25 points per game, 7 assists a game, 4 rebounds a game, 48% from the field, 43% from three, 89% at the free throw line. It's no surprise why this was his first All-Star selection, third team All-NBA as well, which I think that also means he qualifies for a Supermax. That's a little bit rough for Denver. Somebody's going to be disappointed with the outcome there. But regardless, I think he's worthy of being number 8 on the list. The reason I can't put him higher is that I think in the playoffs he has been exposed a good amount where, against real physical defenses that can get up under him and treat him as a legitimate second option when, MPJ's not there, Aaron Gordon's really struggling, and they can really zone in on him a little bit more. And he was always the second option, but when these other guys are just not there or are not playing at the heights that they used to, and Jokic is struggling a lot more with more physical defenses like Chet, Zubac, Hartenstein, or obviously this past year, Rudy Gobert. It's clear that Jokic, when he starts struggling, it affects Jamal Murray in a big way. It affects him in a big way. And I don't think the guys above are really dependent on their co-stars in order to get them off in the playoffs. Pause. But I think Jamal Murray is a little bit more dependent than those guys would need. And he doesn't really have I don't want to say go-tos because he does have go-tos. I mean, he's a good shooter and has a nice little step back and everything. But I would just say I don't think he really has something that's consistent for him in the postseason as compared to some of these guys that they can rely on consistently that most defenses just can't beat. Whether they're on the court with the Nikola Jokic or not, they could do those things over and over. Even as a number 1 option, they've shown that over the last couple of seasons. But we'll get to those players because coming in at number 7, we have the one and only himself, the beard, James Harden. Now, James Harden is a little controversial, I guess, to some people, but I feel like James Harden is self-explanatory. He's proven over the last, decade that he's still one of the best ISO scorers that the league's ever seen. I mean, this past year, when he got to the Cleveland Cavaliers, he was still hooping at a high level. He's still one of the best playmakers in the league. He instantly got on that team, and you could see the difference in the offense with Darius Garland versus with James Harden. He's a stronger player that can exploit matchups a whole lot better than somebody like DG. And on top of that, he's a better 3-point shooter and ISO scorer. And when you bring that kind of element onto a team that really needed somebody that can create some separation on the perimeter, get to the rim a little bit more than Darius Garland, even though he doesn't get rim pressure as good as somebody like he doesn't get rim pressure as good as he used to. Definitely better, though, than Darius Garland. And pairing that up with Donovan Mitchell on that perimeter, I definitely think was a huge boost for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And you saw that they would have never got to the Eastern Conference Finals if they had Darius Garland instead of James Harden. It would not have happened. And I love DG. Y'all saw how glowingly I was talking about him when I talked about him at number 9, but he's not James Harden. And I think there's a clear gap between James Harden and Darius Garland, even Jamal Murray. And that even gets into why I think James Harden's higher than Jamal Murray, because Harden has skill sets and traits that he can exploit at that guard position that Jamal Murray can't. Like Jamal can't abuse mismatches like James Harden can. He's not the ISO scorer that James Harden is. He's not the playmaker. Doesn't have the vision that someone like James Harden has. That's why I think he is a tier above these guys that I have below him. But the reason I can't put him any higher, obviously, the defense. He's just not a good defender. I mean, he was never a great defender in his career, but now it's gotten even worse. He doesn't get to the rim as well as he used to. His finishing and inside the arc game is nowhere near as good as it used to be. He could be turnover prone at times, but that can balance out obviously with how good of a passer and playmaker he is and how many assists he generates. An elite pick and roll ball handler, of course, but he's just nowhere near the scorer that he used to be. And I think the real thing is just the defense. I mean, he was just getting targeted over and over in that Knicks series. It was crazy, especially in that game one. Brunson was just on that nigga's head, on his dome, bucket after bucket after bucket. But according to Kenny Atkinson, I mean, they were winning that game and they probably swept the Cavs. Excuse me. They probably swept the Knicks according to Kenny Atkinson's logic. I'm shocked that nigga didn't get fired after that shit. But let's move on to number 6 on the list. Coming in at number 6, right outside the top 5, we have Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey, to me, I know he's right outside the top 5, but we're talking about some great players here that are in the top 5. There's a reason why I can't put Tyrese Maxey above them, even after the career season that he had this past year. And let's pull it up. Why this shit ain't loading, man? There it is. Maxey this past year had career highs in points per game and assists. Averaged 28 points a game, nearly 7 assists, 2 steals, 46% from the field, 37% from 3 on nearly 9 attempts a game, and 89% at the free throw line. And he was third team All NBA, along with being an All Star, of course, again. The thing with Maxey and why I think he's right outside the top 5, let's actually talk about the positives and the pros before we get to the negatives. The positives is that he's still one of the best rim finishers in the league, especially at his position. His blow by and his speed in the open court in transition off of screens, it's amazing. It's electrifying, truly. He's proven that there really ain't nobody that can really check him like that when he comes downhill and he pushes the pace. And the fact that he was able to keep the Sixers offensive flow even without Joel Embiid in a lot of the games and stretches throughout the season, I got to give Maxey his props and credit where it's due. He's also evolved as a passer and playmaker. He's a really good pick and roll player. I think the Maxey and Embiid two-man game has grown to be an elite, effective method for that Philadelphia 76ers offense. And, the processing, he's improved tremendously when it comes to his processing ability. And it's rubbing off on a guy like VJ Edgecombe. I thought throughout the season, VJ was improving because of what Maxey was doing for him. So I got to give Maxey his props. I think he is worthy of being on this list, obviously. And he's one of the best players in the league. But the reason I can't put him higher is that we saw in the postseason that when teams really zone in on him and treat him as a number one option, and he has to really table set against legitimate playoff defenses like he did in that second round against the New York Knicks, it got ugly. It got ugly. And let's pull that shit up. Maxey in the playoffs when he faced the New York Knicks, ugh, I ain't gonna lie, bro. It was looking rough. Man, these are some bad games. Against the Knicks in the second round, where Embiid, I think, missed a game or two, Maxey averaged 18 points per game, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, nearly 4 turnovers a game, 43% from the field, 16% from 3, 82% at the free throw line. So when shit was really hitting the fan against that New York Knicks defense, and it's not to say that the Celtics didn't have a great defense, but clearly they were treating Embiid like the number one option because obviously he is the best player on that team. Maxey, he really couldn't handle that pressure as that number one guy. He really struggled in, that New York Knicks series when it was clear Embiid, the Sixers weren't even really giving him too much attention because that man was just fucked up. That man was hobbled as shit. And when they really started blitzing Tyrese Maxey, he couldn't really handle it. And I don't think the guys that I have above on this list, if they were in those situations, would play that bad. with or without Joel Embiid. They wouldn't play this bad. But that's why I have Tyrese Maxey outside the top 5 at number 6. Still could make a case, though, for top 5, I think. But I think I'm more comfortable with him being at 6. But coming in at number 5 to start off the top 5. This one was tough for me. I'm not going to lie. Before I even write this down, this was a real tough one for me. I think 3, 4, and 5 are interchangeable. Truly, it depends on what you value. It depends on actually, yeah, that's really it. Just depends on what you value in a player and what's more important to you. But because I gotta value, offensive creation, especially from the point guard position, I'm gonna have to put this guy at number 5. I'm going with Cade Cunningham. And look, I love Cade. I really, really do. I love Cade. Y'all know I'm a Cade believer. I was a believer when he got drafted. I said he was going to change the culture in Detroit, and that's exactly what my nigga did. But I got to be honest, man. Actually, like I said, let's start off with the pros. We always start off with the pros when it comes to these players. Cade, one of the best playmakers in the league, has improved dramatically with his scoring. Even though there are some limitations, his mid-range ability is one of the best at his position, truly. The vision, his ability to run the pick and roll. This guy goes out there with non-floor space lineups. His best shooter out there being Duncan Robinson, who's a complete liability defensively. Second best floor spacer out there being Tobias Harris in the big 2-6, and he still was getting the job done, coming back from down 3-1 against the Orlando Magic. That was a rough one for Cade. That was a rough series for him. And what he had to deal with Jalen Duren damn near being unplayable at times. He had to go out there with Paul Reed lineups. And that's another thing. You talk about the spacing. Look, defensively, Asar's great. But that nigga can't knock down a corner 3 to save his fucking life. And it's annoying as shit. Could you imagine how annoying it is for us as viewers to watch that shit? Imagine how annoying it is for this motherfucker Cade to go out there with lineups where Duncan Robinson, liability defensively, can only play so many spurts of minutes, right? Best floor spacer. Jalen Duren, non-floor spacer. Asar Thompson, non-floor spacer. Tobias Harris, come on, it's 2026. Like, that supporting cast he had, it wasn't very good, but he still made that shit work and led them to over 60 wins. And almost an Eastern Conference Finals trip. Right? They were one game away from the Eastern Conference Finals. But the reason I can't put Cade higher than the players above on this list is because, yes, Cade, he's improved as an offensive player and a scorer. His ability to really get by guys on the perimeter and his lack of burst, it's a real issue. He didn't play as well against the Cavs as somebody like Scotty Barnes. And I think the lack of athleticism and explosion in his game is a real issue for Cade. He doesn't really get by guys with a first step much at all. And that's why I even considered Tyrese Maxey over him, because that's a big strength of Maxey's game, but I just can't ignore the playmaking gap when it comes to those two. And Cade's jumper is very inconsistent. He's not a great three-point shooter. I know he had a great stretch of three-point shooting in the playoffs, but if you actually go game by game, there were some games where it was a little bit rough and shaky. And even in the regular season, I think he still shot below league average, if I'm not mistaken. So those flaws in his game in comparison to the players I have above him are the reason why, I just can't put him any higher than number 5 on this list. The guys above him are elite shot creators, elite offensive scorers, and Cade is just not that. He'll get there. I think he will get there. And last year in the playoffs, he showed some growth in that area, but I just feel like last year in the postseason, it was a lot of shooting luck. Let me not say luck, because luck's for losers. I don't believe in it. But it was a lot of shooting, what's the word? Anomaly. Or fortunate. He was very fortunate to knock down a lot of those two. I don't want to say luck. I really, really don't. But it wasn't what Cade has typically shown us as a three-point shooter. 40% from three. Let's actually pull that shit up. Because in the playoffs last year, it might have been an outlier for his shooting. In the regular season, over the last 3 years, really, but over the last 2 years, he's been shooting around league average, a little bit below league average last year in the regular season. But then you go to the playoffs, and this nigga is shooting 7 threes a game, and he's shooting 40%. And hell, even last year in the postseason, he was shooting 18% from three on 5 attempts a game. So it might just be an outlier kind of thing. I don't think that that's going to be the norm for Cade Cunningham. And like I said, his lack of athleticism and explosion, that first step, it's not something that a lot of people really talk about. And hell, that game 7, oof, Lil Trady, you right. That game 7 does not get talked about enough. Had that had been, I'll even say it like this. I think Donovan Mitchell would have got more slander than Cade Cunningham. And he don't even get enough slander as it is. But we'll get to D-Mitch in the shooting guard list. But like, look at this game. 13 points. He had 3 turnovers to his 5 assists. Shot 5 of 16 from the field. Hell, that's not even enough shots. I would have taken 30. And was 0 of 7 from 3. And like I said, if you go to a lot of these games, it's a lot of just, I don't want to say outlier shooting. Actually, yeah, it's a lot of outlier shooting performances. Like, look at this. He has some, 2 of 6 games, 3 of 10 games, 3 of 11 games, 1 of 6 games, 0 of 7 games, and that was the game 7. He picked the worst possible time to have his worst game of the playoffs. And not a lot of people really got on him for that. I'm just saying, I don't think that Scotty Barnes, for example, is better than Cade Cunningham, but he played better against that Cleveland Cavaliers defense. That wasn't even a top 10 defense in the league, by the way. He played better against that team than Cade Cunningham did. I'm just saying. But he could definitely get higher on the list. I just got to see him show some improvement next season. And Pistons, bro. I actually think the Pistons should go after Kevin Durant. I'm going to be honest with you. KD in Houston, that shit just ain't going to work. The Pistons should go after KD. He fixes a lot of needs. A secondary player, a player that can space the floor, shot creation, 3-point shooting. He literally fixes all the needs that they have on that team, right? Jalen Duren can be a third option like he's meant to be. Cade can still be the ball handler and playmaker. KD can have his playmaker on the team. Defensively, they have the pieces: Asar Thompson, Cade, Jalen Duren at the rim. They have that around KD. So, go and get KD. If you're Detroit, go and get Kevin Durant. I don't know what that trade really looks like. His value can't be that fucking high. Let's be honest here. It can't be that fucking high. The nigga got traded for Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. If you're Detroit, go and get Kevin Durant. Give Cade the help that he needs, because you cannot run that shit name. He is the best shooter in the league, even right now in 2026. And I think a lot of people kind of still forget that Steph is still playing at a crazy, crazy high level, even at this stage in his career. Steph this past season had a great season in the games that he played, which is a reason why I can't put him any higher on the list. But this year, he averaged 27 points a game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 47% from the field. On 11 attempts from 3 a game, he still shot 39% from 3 and 92% at the free throw line. Does he get rim pressure the way that he used to? No, but he still makes up for it with high volume 3-point shooting at an efficient clip. He's still a good passer and playmaker, attracts so much attention from the defense. We all know the positives and the pros with Steph Curry's game. I don't got to break that shit down. But the reason I can't put him higher and in the top 3, it's really just health. We're talking about, yes, a great season from him last year, but he only played 43 games. And if you want to say it's an outlier kind of thing, fair, but Steph has shown injuries throughout his whole career. The 2 seasons prior, he was healthy, but even then, he's had some knick-knack injuries, and I think I'd be doing a disservice, especially to the player that I have at number 3, to put him higher than that guy after 43 games played. Because can you guys imagine if the Warriors made the playoffs and tried to go on a playoff run? I don't think Steph Curry could survive 4 straight playoff series at this stage in his career with the load that he has on that team, and that team ain't getting no fucking better. They waiting on Jimmy Butler to save them right now, y'all. Come on now. Coming off an ACL injury. Steph still got some great play in the tank, and I think he has a couple more elite years left. But with the roster that they got and the pressure that they're going to consistently keep putting on him, his health, I mean, I really do worry for it. I really do worry for it. And I think that's the reason why I can't put him any higher than number 4 on the list. Coming in at number 3, I have the king of New York right now, Jalen Brunson. I'll actually get the negatives out the way because I want to end it off positive with JB. We know JB is not a great defender. His playmaking could definitely be better. I think his vision, he can get some tunnel vision at times and take some really bad shots. We saw in the finals when he struggled. But the thing with Jalen Brunson and why I got to put him over Steph Curry, other than just health, this man is the most clutch player in the league by a mile. This was one of the most historic playoff runs in terms of clutchness that we've ever seen. And that says a lot considering even just the year prior, we saw what Tyrese Halliburton was doing. But those were really on like last possession, buzzer beater shots. And he had some other clutch shots too, don't get me wrong. But what Brunson was doing in the fourth quarters was just slicing teams up. And it's amazing how the Knicks really changed up their play style as a team in order to really accommodate what fits them to win, not what they need or what they felt like could really help their players. And what I mean by that is at times, at nights, it could be OG Anunoby. At other nights, it could be Mikal Bridges. On other nights, hell, Josh Hart, when he's feeling it, he can give you 20 on some nights. Because when he's knocking down his jumpers, look out, right? But regardless, and then Karl-Anthony Towns, of course, right? He's a walking 20 points a game. But then you got Jalen Brunson, who, in my opinion, in the clutch, nobody can top what he does, right? The footwork, the post moves, the mid-range game, getting to the rim, relentless rim pressure. Even for a nigga that's 6'1", he proved me wrong. Obviously, he proved Becky Hammond wrong. He ain't too small. And what we saw in the finals was one of the greatest performances of all time in that game 5. A legendary closeout game. Obviously, he is worthy of being a top 3 point guard. I don't even think that's a controversial take at all. I know Steph Curry, you got your fans out there, but I think Jalen Brunson is the 3rd best point guard in the league. But coming in at number 2, I'm going with the Slovenian giant himself, Luka Doncic. Again, I don't got to spend too much time talking about the pros with Luka. We know what he brings to the court. Elite playmaker, passer, vision, all of that on 10. Adding to the fact that he's got a good jumper, mid-range game. The jumper can be inconsistent, and I think at times he can rely on it too much. The rim pressure ain't what it used to be, but regardless, those things are still being done at a high enough level to justify this spot. The man is a walking top 10 offense. Just give him a bunch of role players and defenders. The guy's going to get you to 50 wins. And I think it's very funny how a lot of people, including myself, was making fun of that Lakers team and some of those signings. But when they get to 50 plus wins, it's going to be amazing how a lot of people are going to act like that's not enough to win the MVP. Because I've always said, I think Luka should have won an MVP a couple of years ago. I think it was the 2023 or 2024 MVP. I can't remember, but I think it was the year he averaged like 33 points per game. He definitely should have won it that year. Give me a second, y'all. My camera finna die. My camera literally died on me, so I had to replace the battery. But like I said, Luka Doncic, we know what he brings to the table. One of the best passers, playmakers, scorers in the league. But the reason I just can't put him higher, he has dealt with some knick-knack injuries that has limited him. I mean, he had to get a whole exception just to get on the All-NBA team. And you pair that with the fact that defensively, not very good. Definitely not as good as the guy I have at number one, which leads me to the number one point guard in the NBA. I think it should be pretty obvious who I have at this spot. I got SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, the two-time back-to-back MVP, Finals MVP, led the league in scoring for I think it might be 4 straight seasons. Let me see. It might be 4 straight seasons that Shea has led the league in scoring on over 30 points per game. I mean, the nigga is literally doing Michael Jordan shit as we speak, y'all. I gotta give him his credit where it's due. Oh, no, he didn't lead the league. I could have swore he's led the league in scoring 4 straight years, but I guess not. No. But he did average 30 for 4 straight seasons, led the league in scoring last year, was the clutch player of the year this past year, and MVP, first team All-NBA. I mean, we know what Shea brings to the table. Elite mid-range shooter, post-game on 10, good footwork, can get to the rim, constant rim pressure, gets to the free throw line over and over and over again. Great at getting contact on all his shots, and a good defender. Even though I think his defense is overrated by Thunder fans, y'all got to stop pushing this narrative that SGA is an elite defender. If he was an elite defender, he's not getting taken off the court. I don't care if they got great defenders around him. He ain't getting taken off the court in some of these defensive clutch possessions, but he is a good defender, though. Don't get me wrong. But it's obvious. He's the best point guard in the NBA. No questions asked really there. But it is close between him and Luka. And I think if someone were to say that Luka was better than him, I don't have an issue with that because I do think Luka is a better offensive player. I just think the defensive gap, it is noticeable. And SGA is the best scorer in the NBA, in my personal opinion. But I do think it's interesting, though, with SGA because he does have some negatives. A lot of people kind of just brush past the fact that in the playoffs, there have been a drop over the last 2 seasons. And it's because he doesn't really have that athletic burst. And it's kind of similar to what I said about Cade with SGA. Because in the playoffs, SGA, when he can't create separation against more physical defenses, it does lead to a noticeable drop. Over the last 2 seasons in the postseason, he has not been the SGA of the regular season, and that's normal. Playoffs, a lot of players do drop, but Thunder fans just sit there and act like it's because, hey, man, look at the rosters that he's playing with, the fake shooters around him, right? A lot of those guys drop off too. But one, SGA is not, an elite passer or playmaker. I wouldn't say he's someone like Jokic or Luka. He's not on their level. So as far as the role players, it's not just on them, it's also on him. And on top of that, like I said, the athleticism, the strength, the first step, the speed. He doesn't have elite athleticism. He's a good athlete. Don't get me wrong. He's really improved at putting on some muscle mass and things of that nature. It's a big reason why he's able to get a lot of contact and absorb a lot of contact because there's more physicality that's thrown at him than a lot of fans want to realize as far as his game. But we do need to be honest. SGA, his drop off is because of that lack of athleticism. It's because of that lack of, burst and speed and strength. So I'll just say that. But regardless, I'm going into all the negatives as if he's not going to be the best point guard on this list. He's still the best point guard in the NBA to me. But that wraps up my top 10. Like I said, I have SGA at number 1, Luka Doncic at number 2, Jalen Brunson at number 3, Steph Curry at number 4. At 5, I have Cade Cunningham. At 6, I have Tyrese Maxey. At 7, I have James Harden. At 8, I have Jamal Murray. 9, Darius Garland. And 10, LaMelo Ball. Like I said, I'm not including players like Tyrese Halliburton, Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving. They would definitely make the list. Dame, I don't know actually, but Hallie and Kyrie, they would make the list, but they did not play last season. They are out with injuries. So I'm going to wait for them to play next year, and then I'll give my update. But on the next stream, we will be going over the top 10 shooting guards in the league. And I ain't going to lie, that list might get a little rough because, the shooting guard position is a little weak, man. I seen Carson and Logan's list. And the fact that motherfuckers like Hassan Wallace and Derek White was making it. I mean, I disagree with some of those guys making the list, but the position is weak. Okay, the position is very weak. But that wraps up this stream, though. I appreciate you guys for pulling up, showing and showing out. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed